we were rehearsing the lives of the best of people, those whom Allah has chosen. And in the discussion, we're also trying to draw lessons from their life. And also, we're trying to learn how the Holy Qur'an, the Qur'an that Allah gave the Ummah of our Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, how the Qur'an defends the Anbiya Alayhimus Salam. And from there we learn how distortions came into the previous books and changes came in, that could not happen to the Qur'an because Allah has preserved the Qur'an. So Hazrat Nooh Alayhi Salatu Wasalam, we mentioned how they mocked him, scoffed at him. Oh, yesterday you were a prophet, a Nabi preaching to us. Now you've become a carpenter. بالأمس كنت نبيا واليوم صرت نجارا. And he did not get discouraged by their remarks, but he continued and he tried his best. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided him how to prepare and how to manufacture and how to construct the ark. And then when the time came, حتى إذا جاء أمرنا, when our command came to Hazrat Nooh alayhi salatu wasalam, and the oven was also filled with water, meaning water came everywhere. Water was gushing out, and everything was getting filled with water. Even water was emanating from the oven. And then it could also indicate to some sort of engine and so forth. Allah knows best. But water was coming out from everything, and this is the apparent meaning. And then we said to Hazrat Nooh, قُلْ نَحْبِلْ فِيهَا مِنْ كُلٍّ زَوْجَيْنِ اثْنَيْنِ. From every species, from every category of the animal kingdom, take زَوْجَيْنِ اثْنَيْنِ, 2 pairs. زَوْجَيْنِ اثْنَيْنِ. And also it can mean, with the other qira'ah is, مِنْ كُلِّ زَوْجَيْنِ, from every species, take 2 pairs. So there's a meaning here, take a pair of every species or take 2 pairs of every species according to the different rendition. So it can mean that from certain species you have to take 2 and from some you have to take 1 pair, meaning male and female. And take your family, wa'amalak, except those who Allah didn't give them tawfiq to come. And this is Allah's system. If somebody is not interested, Allah Ta'ala doesn't give them the tawfiq. So except those who Allah's decree had passed on them, وَمَنْ آمَنْ, and take the people of Iman. So the people of Iman joined Hazrat Nooh alayhi salatu wasalam. May Allah make us of the people of Iman. That's why we have to join in the works of Deen, and we have to worry for the preservation, for the protection of our Iman. Many of the righteous used to cry very often. And they would be told, don't you know the mercy of Allah is so vast and far-reaching and abundant? But he would say, I know the mercy of Allah is so far-reaching, but what if I die without Iman? What if this gift of Iman is snatched from me before I leave this world? And this is not a far-fetched report. Even Hazrat Abu Bakr was worried, the greatest of people. Sahaba were worried. وَمَا آمَنَ مَعَهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ. After 950 years of effort, only a few brought faith. So the Qur'an Kareem is explicit that it was 950 years of effort, and then the ark, and then the deluge. The Bible says when he rode onto the ship, he was 600. So obviously that is a clear mistake. And then it says, no, he lived after that for another 350 years. So that book is actually portraying that 950 years in all. But obviously the Qur'an Kareem is pure and pristine without any change. So Hazrat Nooh alayhi salatu wasalam gave da'wat for 950 years. And then they were in the ark, the ship. And subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved them. And there's different reports of where the ship went and where it traveled. That's different reports, historical. And there's a report that it even went to Makkah Mukarramah and circumambulated around the Kaaba, Musharrafah. And it departed in Rajab, and it continued, and it landed finally in Muharram. Anyway, when Hazrat Nooh alayhi salatu wasalam, subhanAllah, this was Allah Ta'ala's system. He cried to Allah Ta'ala for his son. He made dua. And, oh Allah, my son, innabni min ahli. My son is also my family. So this was the son who was not the believer. Because he had 3 sons who had brought Iman, Ham, Sam, and Yafet, from whom our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught that the offspring of humanity come from the tree. And some hadith even mention explicitly which nations come from which son. But also here, there's a lot of, we call it Israeliyat, fabrications of, what happened to this nation and what happened to that nation. But when you read them, you see the chain of reports. You see, these are fabrications. So Hazrat Nooh alayhi salam's 3 sons, mashallah, people of Iman. But there was one son that didn't come. And Nooh alayhi salam exhorted him that come. He said, no, I got a plan. Irkam ma'ana, join us, embark. And don't be with the disbelievers. He said, no, I'm going to resort to the mountain and that will save me. So he tells his son, none can save you from Allah's decree. Only the mercy of Allah can save us. Illa man rahim. Anyway, his son did not embark, did not listen. And then Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam made dua to Allah. So Allah Ta'ala tells him that your son is not of your family. Allah. Ya Nuh, innahu laysa min ahlik. His deeds were unrighteous. And don't ask me concerning things you have no knowledge of. And I exhort you not to be from the ignorant. And then he seeks Allah's protection from asking Allah what he has no knowledge of. And he says, my Allah, if you do not forgive me and shower me with your mercies, I will definitely be from the losers. So we learn Hazrat Nooh alayhi salam made a lot of effort on his children. And every one of us have to do the same. And yes, his children were people of Iman, but there was that son. So sometimes we see in life people go through this difficulty. And I would encourage one and all, do not be rushed, don't rush to be judgmental. That, this one's children are like that because of this and that. Yes, people try to make effort on their children. Yes, Allah Ta'ala forgive us if we're not interested in fulfilling this responsibility and this duty of tarbiyah. But sometimes we can do all of that. And who would have done better than Hazrat Nooh? But still this can happen. That's why we need to be in dua, and we need to worry, and we need to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should not judge others. But subhanallah, Allah reward the jamaats. I don't know who today will go to people, go to the youth, and make an effort and take them out and make their ikram. Subhanallah, those elderly brothers who take our youth out, you know how much of ikram they make for them. They buy for them. They try and make the work enjoyable for them, the masjid work enjoyable for them, so that they can go back home and love the deen. And so many of our ulama kiram became ulama and were inspired to become ulama because they joined our brothers and our elders for a few days in the path of Allah. And those days, those few months in Allah's way became a turning point in so many of our people's lives. Allahu Akbar. Anyway, that was Hazrat Nooh alayhi salatu wassalam. And when he was to land, the ship was to land, the Qur'an Kareem says that he landed on the Judi mountain, the mountain called Judi. Ayat is quite interesting. وَقِيلَ يَا أَرْضُ بَلَعِي مَاءَكِ وَيَا سَمَاءُ أَقْلِعِي وَغِيضَ الْمَاءُ وَقُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ وَاسْتَوَتْ عَلَى الْجُودِيِّ وَقِيلَ بُعْدًا لِلْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. Verses 44. Surah Hud, chapter 11, verses 44. And the earth was told, swallow your water. And the skies, Allah's creation, they listen to Allah. And you withhold what you are sending down of water. And the water now seeped into the ground. And Allah's decree came to pass. And the ship landed on the Judi mountain. And it was announced, distanced from Allah's mercy are the zalim people. And all of them were destroyed. They all were destroyed. Only the people of Iman were spared. Subhanallah. Interestingly, the Bible mentions the word Ararat, where the ark landed. And that, according to research, was that entire region. It was named Ararat. But the mountain that the ark landed on specifically is Mount Judi. So subhanallah, how perfect and apt and precise is the Holy Qur'an, the Kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, Hazrat Nooh alayhi salatu wasalam continued his effort and he worked on the people of Iman. And everyone was people of Iman. So that's why we learn, he taught them, exhorted them. So very, very important is for us to work on the people of Iman. At this stage of Hazrat Nooh alayhi salatu wasalam's life, it was only mu'mineen. And he carried on striving and teaching them And there's so many beautiful ahadith that our Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught us about Hazrat Nooh alayhi salatu wasalam, about his appreciation, about his abundant fasting. Hazrat Nooh alayhi salatu wasalam would fast profusely. In the hadith, Abdullah bin Amr bin As radiallahu anhuma reports that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Hazrat Nooh alayhi salatu wasalam fasted every day of his life, except on the two Eids, illa Eid al-Fitri wa Yawm al-Adha. That report is in Sunan Ibn Majah. In another report, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Hazrat Nooh alayhi salam fasted every day of his life. Subhanallah. And Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam fasted every second day. Subhanallah. And that's another amazing Nabi of Allah that the Qur'an Kareem defends from the false allegations laid against him, sadly. And then now Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam used to fast 3 days a month. Subhanallah. How amazing is our Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam teaching us about the Anbiya alayhim as-salawatu min Allahi wa taslimat. There's an amazing report from Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhuma that our Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was on Hajj. When he reached the valley Asfan, he said, "Oh Abu Bakr, what's the name of this valley?" He said, "This is Wadi Asfan." "Oh Abu Bakr, do you know لقد مر بهذا الوادي نوح وهود وإبراهيم عليهم السلام." In their times of their efforts on their people, these Anbiya, Hazrat Nooh passed here on Hajj on a red camel with fiber as it rains, and he was dressed with in his ihram, and they were going for Hajj. Hazrat Nooh alayhi salam, Hazrat Hud alayhi salam, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salawatu min Allahi wa taslimat. Subhanallah. So our Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Allah showed him the vision where Hazrat Nooh passed, Hazrat Hud passed, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam passed. There's another occasion from this great Sahabi, Abdullah bin Amr bin As, very great Sahabi of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He was among the Sahaba who used to write the hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the time of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Some say no, hadith was not documented in the time of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Yes, there was. Sahaba used to remember the hadith 100%, but there are also reports of documentation, like the Sahabi Abdullah bin Amr bin As. On one occasion, someone mocked him and said, "Oh, you write everything." So for one occasion, he stopped writing. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saw him. He says, "Abdullah, you're not writing anymore." He says, "Oh Allah's Nabi, someone brought it to my attention that what if you saying something, in the context and out of the context or in humor?" Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "No, anything that utters from this mouth, you can write, because whatever the context, whatever comes out is true." So subhanallah, how amazing. This is the Sahabi who narrates this hadith, and that happened with him when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told him that you may write. This hadith, the context of it was where a Bedouin came and he was actually complaining. He says, "Yeah, this Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he's dishonoring noble people, and all these people around him are like riffraffs and shepherds and sons of shepherds." Subhanallah. He didn't realize Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam showed respect to everyone, but this Bedouin couldn't understand that. Anyway, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did advise him, exhort him. At times, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam exhorted and encouraged people politely, and at times he was strict with people, because Allah's Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam knew different strokes for different folks. That's the saying. But what we learn is how to exhort and encourage and reform every person in a suitable manner. Anyway, then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam encouraged Sahaba. He said, the Nabi of Allah, Hazrat Nooh alayhi salam, was on his deathbed, and he said to his son, "Inni qasun alayka al-wasiyah." "Oh my son, I'm giving you wasiyah, a firm, strong advice." Wasiyah is, subhanallah, a bequest. And it also means emphatic advice. That's why the Qur'an Kareem, the Holy Qur'an, in Surah Al-Asr, mentions, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. Same word is wasiyah. And exhort people, call people to truth. But tawasaw, the scale of the word, brings about collectivity. Do it collectively. As an ummah, work on each other. And the previous verse says, bring iman and do a'mal. But many of us, sadly most of us, feel that's sufficient for our salvation. According to Surah Al-Asr, and I would exhort you to see what Hazrat Mufti Shafi Sahib Rahmatullah Alayhi says under this verse, Ya Allah. It shows how necessary this is, that just protecting our iman alone is not sufficient, but to protect our iman, we have to work on humanity. So the verses are clear. Tawasaw, collectively call each other to haqq and iman and truth and good deeds, and collectively make an effort on humanity and help each other in times of adversity and difficulty. When people are going through difficulties, be there for them collectively. In this, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Hazrat Nooh gave this bequest to his son. He says, my child, my children, I exhort you to do two things, and I forbid you and prohibit you from two. Number one, I encourage you with La ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar. He says, I exhort you with La ilaha illallah. فإن السماوات السبع والأرضين السبع لو وضعت في كفة ووضعت لا إله إلا الله في كفة رجحت بهن لا إله إلا الله. My children, my son, I exhort you with La ilaha illallah, because if the seven heavens and the seven earths, the seven layers, the seven earths, were placed on one side of the scale, meaning everything on one plan, and on the other side is La ilaha illallah on the other side of the scale. Oh, my children, rajahat bihinna La ilaha illallah. The La ilaha illallah will definitely outweigh every single thing. SubhanAllah. And if the seven heavens and the seven earths were locked up in a ring, and you bring La ilaha illallah there, La ilaha illallah, subhanallah, wa bihamdi, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah would be able to crush everything and unlock the shackles for everything. Subhanallah. The second statement he advises them is Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Abundance of dhikr of Subhanallah wa bihamdi. And then he said, Hazrat Nooh alayhi salatu was salam, because this is the prayer of all creation. Everything reads Subhanallah wa bihamdi, meaning every leaf, every tree, every snowflake, every mountain, every piece of land, every blade of grass, every animal, everything is reading Subhanallah wa bihamdi, Subhanallah wa bihamdi. And through this dhikr, وَبِهَا يُرْزَقُ الْخَلْقِ, the barakah of their sustenance comes in their life. Allah provides for them. And then he says, oh my children, oh my son, I forbid you, I warn you, I exhort you to be careful of two things. What are they? Number one is shirk. Never ascribe a partner unto Allah. Never ascribe a partner unto our Allah. And number two is kibr, arrogance, haughtiness, and pride, looking down upon others and thinking we are better than others. These two prohibitions, Hazrat Nooh alayhi salatu wasalam exhorts his children thereby. The hadith actually explains further. Sahaba asked Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, oh Allah's Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, this shirk we understand, ascribing a partner to Allah and so forth. But tell us, what is kibr? Is part of pride a person having a nice pair of shoes? Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said no. If a person has a nice pair of shoes, it's fine. If a person has a good pair of clothing, beautiful pair of clothing, or a nice ride and conveyance a person rides on, is that part of pride? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said no. Oh Allah's Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, if a person sits with people and he talks to them and they have a discussion with each other, is that part of pride? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said no. Then the question comes about, then tell us, what is pride? Define pride for us. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, what is actually pride is to refute the truth. When truth is brought before you and you reject it haughtily, and you know deep down that this is the right thing, that is the essence of pride. وَهَمْتُ النَّاسِ سَفَهُ الْحَقِّ, belittle the truth. Just because we're not used to something, or something we feel, doesn't fit with us, and now we mock it and we refuse it and we try and disprove it and we belittle it, despite us knowing deep down that that is the right thing. What that person said is right. وَغَمْتُ النَّاسِ, and to mock and look down upon people. This is pride. Sometimes we don't know the right thing. We find in the Sahaba Kiram radiallahu anhum, the Ansar were feeling that, you know what, we should also be the Khalifas. But as soon as the Sahaba proved it to them, that this is what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, immediately they put aside their opinions and they said, yes, Abu Bakr is the Khalifa. And we find repeatedly in the life of Sahaba Kiram. Look at the Ansaris. When Hazrat Mus'ab bin Umair made effort on them, and they started shouting him and reprimanding him, and he said, "Sir, one request. You haven't heard us out yet. Sit for a few minutes. If you like it, you join. If not, we're going to the next area." He says, "What you're saying is fair." First, As'ad and then Sa'ad radiallahu anhuma were shouting, reprimanding, threatening Hazrat Mus'ab. But when Hazrat Mus'ab spoke politely and said, "Hear us out and then you decide," when they heard them out, they accepted the truth. This is a problem when we know something is right, but just because we can't take it because of our pride, whether the person saying the right thing is younger or older, or we feel, whoever is that person, if a person is speaking the truth, accept it. If we don't, this is pride, this is haughtiness. And also, subhanallah, looking down upon people. We learn from our pious Buzrugan Adin explaining this, that we should not look down upon any of Allah's creation. Hazrat Maulana Qasim Sima rahmatullah alayhi was driving down the road, and they passed some drunk people in their drunken condition, and few students were laughing. So Hazrat said, "Why do you laugh?" They said, "Hazrat, look at this pitiable sight. How despicable of these people. How filthy." Hazrat said, "Don't look down upon them, because you never know. You and I could be deprived of Iman, and they could become the greatest of awliya." So Hazrat Maulana Ashraf Ali Thani rahmatullah alayhi would say, don't even mock or look down upon a non-Muslim. You never know. There's an amazing incident in the life of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, where he was walking with his disciples past along one road, and a man from the highway, a robber, looks down upon them, and he sees these amazing people, and his heart was softened on seeing righteous people, and he marches towards Hazrat Isa alayhi salam with the sincere intention of changing, and one of those with Hazrat Isa in his heart belittled and mocked and scoffed at, "Who is this person? What does he want to approach us for?" So the conditions of their heart were different. This man is coming towards Hazrat Isa to change. That man is looking down upon the other individual. Allah sent Jibreel to exhort the both, tell them both to restart. Hazrat Isa asked for elaboration, and he was told that the man whose life was in sin, he has now regretted his wrong. Tell him to change his life. Allah has forgiven him due to that regret, and now he must start a life of righteousness. And the one who Allah enabled to be with you, but he mocked and looked down upon Allah's creation, tell him that nullifies his good deeds. He must also restart. There's an amazing report of the previous books. Allah says to Dawood alayhi salam, "Bashiril mudhnibin," give glad tidings to the sinners. So he was astonished. Tell sinners, what? Give them good news. And warn the good doers. وَأَنذِرِ الصِّدِّيقِينَ. So he's told, tell the sinners, Allah yata'awama alayya dhanbun and aghfirah. That, oh my bando, there's no sin too grave for Allah to forgive. So this is what we have to tell people, that we all know drinking alcohol is wrong, Allah save us. Adultery is wrong, Allah save us. Usury is wrong, Allah save us. It's haram, those acts. But to lose hope in the mercy of Allah and to become despondent and say, Allah will never forgive, ye bhi haram hai. This is also prohibited and not accepted. To lose hope. Allah's mercy is beyond what we can fathom. Give glad tidings to the sinners that there's no sin too grave for Allah to forgive. And warn the good doers, the siddiqeen, that don't be arrogant and haughty due to the good that they do. Because Allah gives us tawfiq. Allah alone gives us tawfiq to do any good. So this was the advice of Hazrat Nooh. Oh, my children, oh, my son, be careful of refuting the truth when it comes to you, and be careful of belittling and mocking people or looking down upon them. May Allah save us from that, and may Allah give us tawfiq to share the message of Islam with the whole wide world. Let's aspire to inspire, because before we expire, because today could be our last day.